Good morning, my brothers and sisters. On this, our GMG video game spoiler cast for Gotham Knights. Thank you for joining us on this fine morning, afternoon, evening, or night as we discuss Gotham Knights in detail. What we loved about the game, things that were issues, and overall impressions. So, alongside me is Marc Boucher. And I didn't introduce myself. I am one of your hosts, Patrick Novosel. So we're gonna talk about Gotham Knights today. So, Marc, what were your first impressions of Gotham Knights?
So I was always a little concerned about this game, going into it, just because, it had a lot to live up to, being, again, as I've talked about in other episodes of the podcast, living in the shadow, I think, of the Arkham games, because they set the bar so high.
Yeah,
And those are just fantastic games.
for sure.
And it was a little concerning that, this was not a Rocksteady game. This is made by WB Games Montreal, who does not have the best track record, although I enjoyed Arkham Origins. Um, they had some trouble with that at the beginning. Um, but and plus they're going in a different direction. It's not
Mm-hmm.
not connected to the Arkham verse at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, I was going to go against the naysayers, because I think this got like a 40 something percent on Metacritic or whatever. Um, I was like, you know what? I'm still going to play it anyway. So I went in and I was pleasantly surprised. And, we'll go into the first introduction to the actual game and everything. But um, pretty much from the get-go, I was pretty sold on playing. Um, you know, does it play as smoothly as Gotham Knights? I mean, as the Arkham games, close, but I think the Arkham games, in my opinion, at least, do it a little bit better. But that being said, jumping into this world, all that kind of stuff, it was good to be back in a Batman oriented game.
Yeah.
And like, some people were poo-pooing on the graphics, and I think there were some frame rate issues and all that kind of stuff, but um it doesn't look like a bad game at all,
No, no.
graphically. But those are my initial thoughts jumping into it. And we'll talk about the introduction more when we start talking about the story elements, but
Yeah,
I was sucked in from the very beginning, story wise.
same,
uh
same.
but what were your initial thoughts jumping in?
Yeah, I had no preconceived notions. It's not a game that I was following. It didn't seem like a game that I was very interested in when they were talking about co-op. I was like, oh man, I mean, like I enjoy my single player games. I just didn't want it to be co-op. And then I found out that you can play everything single player. It's not, they say it's not recommended, but I had a blast
Yeah.
playing it single player. I did not need a second player. I dabbled into the multiplayer once, and I was like, okay, that's fine. I think this would be a great game to play with your buddy for sure.
Yeah.
Playing with randoms, not so much. I think having someone that is not a random, someone that is going to be playing alongside with you, because on the multiplayer side, you can be across the map, you can be doing different things, which is, I kind of think it kind of defeats the purpose of multiplayer, when you're off doing random things differently. So, but yeah, so I played this all the way through single player, and like I was pleasantly surprised. I was, like you said, I was in the first intro. I mean, the first intro was like 10 minutes or something like that. It was
Yeah.
long.
It's a
Um,
good long scene.
it's a good, and it really sets the stage. For spoilers, if you listen to the spoiler cast, Batman dies, and in the beginning, and then you're left with four people. You got Batgirl, you have Red Hood, Robin, and Nightwing, who are left to take over the watch of
Night butt.
Gotham. What's that?
Night butt.
Yeah, Night butt. Yes, he's got some tight pants on. And those animators made it known. But yeah, so yeah, they have these four individual characters, and you can switch between them at any time. So, well, you have to be back at the Belfry, which is the main, hub, the headquarters,
Yeah.
as it were. And from there, you can switch from any of the four, which is really cool. And what's nice about being able to switch to characters is all characters level up with your level. So if you have Batgirl and you mainline Batgirl like I did on my first playthrough, all the way up to level 30, if I wanted to switch over to Red Hood, he's at level 30. He just has all the skills that I need to upgrade in the skill tree.
Yeah.
Which I want to talk about next. Is the skill tree. What did you think about the skill tree for this game?
The skill tree, me and RPGs and things like that, and skill trees, like it's a very volatile relationship. If it gets too complicated for me, then I'm out on that. I don't want to have to think too much. And this one was just right enough. You gain XP by doing missions, stopping crimes, things like that. You gain experience points to get to spend on the skill trees, different types of skill trees. Um, I tended to go more on I can't remember what the far left side one was. Now I pretty much mainlined Nightwing on my
Okay.
initial playthrough, just because once I kind of started mainlining him and upgrading all his stuff. I mean, yeah, I get that the skill level, that I mean that the actual level of the character goes with you, but I didn't want to have to go back and start unlocking all those things with other characters. I kind of wanted to just see it through to the end and level up everything with Nightwing that way.
Sure.
That being said, I did try the different characters and their abilities, but I mean, and plus once you unlock the knighthood side of things, you start
Which
getting
is
into
the fourth skill tree.
the far right.
Mm-hmm.
You start getting into the real good stuff. Um,
which I mean, I want to stop you there. One of the things about this skill tree, some of it's like, hey, if you as Red Hood, you do your combo with your guns, and then at one point you have the ability to if you reload, dual reload, you'll have infinity ammo for a short period of time, or you'll shoot two bullets at once for a period of time. Those are the cool things. You upgrade your ability to have a critical hit, things like that. Those are kind of the skills that you have. But then you have the last one, which is the knighthood. You have to do certain things in the game to unlock the knighthood, which is where the traversal is.
yeah,
And
that was
so
a little weird.
you don't start like in a normal Batman game when you're up on a high perch and you want to glide through the entire city. You can from start because you are Batman, which is what you want to do as Batman. But for this to be able to do that, like I started as Batgirl, I was like, why can't I glide? What is the glide button? And I had to look it up. I'm like, oh, you have to unlock a skill to be able to glide. Like that was so strange to have that unlocked behind the knighthood abilities,
Yeah.
which it was so strange. And then if you wanted to, so say I unlocked Batgirls and I went over to Red Hood, and so I wanted to just continue on, do some trophy hunting, as it were, and I had to unlock the knighthood for him. So the skill trees, that was the only part that did not transfer over from character to character.
That's
I
so
had to do
weird.
their own knighthood, which was just so dumb. It was a weird decision to do.
Yeah, it's not perfect. I think there was honestly an emphasis on they wanted you to use the bat cycle at first. They didn't want you to fly. And so you pretty much had that from the beginning, and your grappling gun and everything. But yeah, it seemed like they're like, yeah, we want you to traverse the map with the bat cycle first. We
I mean,
don't want
to
you to
be
fly.
honest, I used the bat cycle, and as soon as I got the ability to traverse glide or jump as Red Hood. I did not use the bat cycle.
Yeah, it varied with me. I definitely favored the because Nightwing's traversal ability is the flying trapeze, which is just this glider that you can use. I definitely favored that over the bat cycle, but depending on where I was going, and there were certain side missions where you had to follow a certain or vehicle or something like that. And that's where I would use the you had to catch up somewhere quickly, and that's where I would use the bat cycle.
Yeah, but
Um,
how many times did you use the wheelie function on the bat cycle?
just for funsies.
So it was like, hey, they do the tutorial, driving across the entire map at the beginning, and they're like, hold an X to do a wheelie to get over obstacles. That's the only time it was ever needed in
Yeah,
in
they
the
never
entire
use
game.
that again.
It was like, what? You give this mechanic and you don't even use it. You could
I
use it for fun, like you said, if you want to just if you're just aiming for cars, you could
yeah.
do it and just I don't know. It
I
was a strange mechanic that they
I
didn't
always
utilize.
I always thought it was funny, or at least on my playthroughs. It seemed to me anytime you would spawn the bat cycle, it would always spawn right in front of a vehicle trying to get by. Like it,
Yeah, yeah,
and you just immediately get beep beep from the car.
yeah.
um, but yeah, once I unlocked that flying trapeze thing, at least with Nightwing,
Hmm.
yeah, that was most of my traversal. And then when I started unlocking the fast travel with Lucius Fox's little toy that he gives you, um, that made things infinitely easier
Oh yeah,
because Gotham City looks great in this game, but like there's not a whole lot. It looks pretty, but there's really not a whole lot in the way of like Easter eggs like I think the Arkham games did. Like the first thing I did when I saw the Monarch Theater was I immediately went behind it to see if they did like the Arkham games where they had like a tribute to Thomas and Martha Wayne,
hmm.
because they did that in the Arkham games. They had like a little chalk outline of where their bodies were,
Oh yeah,
but I
yeah.
guess you're not Batman, so that doesn't really matter as much to you. Um, but I mean, there are Easter eggs in the game that you
Yeah.
can pay attention to.
There's a collectibles, and one of the collectibles is landmarks, so you can go to all the 40 different landmarks that they have, which was kind of cool to do.
Yeah. Now, um, did you have any more to say about the skill tree itself?
No, I kind of while we're in the skill tree, I kind of wanted to move on to the other part of the menu, as it were, and the suit, the melee, and the ranged weapon
Yeah.
upgrades.
Okay.
What did you think about that system?
Um, I, it wasn't terrible. I just kind of got into this mindset of every time I would go out for a patrol and then come back, I was just constantly upgrading my stuff
Hmm.
as much as possible. Crafting new suit loadouts, new weapon loadouts, which for Nightwing, he has darts, and you could upgrade that. You had different elemental abilities, which was really interesting. You don't see that type of fantastical type of thing with Batman characters, like having elemental abilities, like with Nightwing's. I think it's either Eskrima or Eskrima. I can't remember how do you pronounce those. The sticks that he's got.
Oh yeah,
Um, um, One of his elemental abilities is like almost like this tornado effect, and like you don't see that because these are street level vigilantes that
yeah.
don't have that kind of power. Um, but they kind of given out for it because it's Justice League technology basically. Um, like I think Robin knows how to teleport and stuff like that, and they given out for him in that because again it's Justice League tech that they've sort of taken and made their own.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I just maintained a mindset of ABU always be upgrading. Anytime I would go back to the Belfry, I would check to see what type of things I could craft. Um, the only time I ever did the fuse modding was mainly for the trophy.
Yeah, same.
I
I felt like I was doing the fuses and it didn't seem like it was doing much.
Yeah,
There wasn't like if you wanted to put together two 25 level or three 25 level fuses, and really it just ended up being another fuse that was level 25, and it might have been epic. And if I it might have been an incremental upgrade. It
yeah,
wasn't that big of a deal. However, when you add the fuses to one of your suits, melee, or your ranged weapons, it can really upgrade your item, whatever that is, suit, melee, or ranged. And when you do that, it kind of like doubles
yeah,
your strength, your power, your ability, your health, whatever that is. I thought that was great, and that was the only time I didn't upgrade is when I had a slot for a suit or a melee weapon or my ranged weapon, and the upgrade was maybe one higher level, but it didn't have a slot. I didn't do it. I didn't upgrade because even with that higher level, it still was less powerful than the one with I had it with a slot.
yeah.
So there was I had a level 19 legendary. Was it a legendary melee? And it was I did I it was still more powerful than a level 30 because it had legendary at 3 slots. It
Right.
was still more powerful than a level 30 at 2 slots. So so I continued to use that all the way through. That's the
Yeah.
only time I never upgraded. But it was simple. It was a simple upgrade system. It was a simple, they had what, 20 different costumes, outfits for each character,
Yep.
and you could change, the cowl, the the what the arms,
Gloves,
the
boots.
legs. Yeah, you can do that, but it was only like there's only three options,
Yeah.
and it was very simple. It was not convoluted at all, and each one of those suits changes. It was very small change, but it made a difference if you wanted to look a different a certain way. So that was cool. The other thing was the if you wanted to transmog a suit, you could do so. You're like, hey, I like my upgrade. I like the way I have, my loadout, but I want my suit to look like something else. And when you do that, you can't change anything.
Yeah.
That suit is just what it is. You can't change any of the cowl or anything like that, which was fine.
Yeah.
Um,
Really didn't bother me all that much because
yeah,
I wanted consistency to my outfit
right.
anyway.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite of the unlockable suits?
For Batgirl, I liked the knighthood one. I think it
Yep.
was like the last one because
Yep.
it just seemed it was black. Had the the yellow kind of look of the Batman symbol on the chest. I just liked that. It was clean. I didn't like any of the bright colors because I was like, man, these guys are supposed to be in the shadows. Like, why I don't want bright colors
Yeah.
for any of these characters. So that's what I liked. And then for Red Hood, Red Hood had a lot of ones that I liked.
Yeah.
I think they were really cool. He likes to wear jackets, and
Yep.
so the ones with jackets I liked more than the ones without jackets. I think there were a couple of them that didn't have jackets, and it just felt weird. It felt like he was naked because he
Yeah.
didn't have the jacket on. And then let's see what else. The only ones I did not like were the shinobi ones. I
Okay.
wasn't keen on those.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I stuck once I unlocked the knighthood skin, which is at the pretty much the very end of the game. That was the one I enjoyed the most. There's a couple of different Nightwing skins that I really liked, but that were pretty consistent across the board. I never really equipped the Shinobi or the what was that one where you basically looked like a pirate.
Oh yeah, okay, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I didn't really use those. I did for a little bit. I equipped the Talon suit, which was pretty
Hmm.
cool. Um, but yeah, otherwise, like, yeah, the knighthood suit is my favorite because it's always like a third act type of thing. It's like the heroes get new suits at the very end of the movie, and
Yeah.
it's always super nice upgrade. And um, yeah, it's
And you get these upgrades pretty regularly. As
yeah.
if you're doing story missions or side missions, I mean, there there's a lot. I mean, we can get into the mission structure. What did you think about the mission structure and how it interweaved with the story, the main story, and then the villain stories?
I think it was done tastefully and done in such a way where you could take a break from the main story if you wanted to, but still had some interesting kind of story because they had obviously the main storyline with the Court of Owls and Batman is dead. First off, mighty bold of them, I will say that. Mighty bold of them to actually kill off Batman. He is dead, plain and simple. You see the body, he is dead. That is it. At least at the beginning. And so it's that tying in that in with the Court of Owls story, and then it's nice to, oh hey, Harley Quinn is in Blackgate, even though she really doesn't need to be, and she's putting in these like neural implants that are taking over people, and what's her deal, and then um, you got Mr. Freeze, and he's working with some of the smaller gangs, like the regulators, and what's his deal? And it was a nice little break um, between the main story, but still had enough action in it. I think, and it was nice to have it in like a case file type of structure. Very Batman detective oriented. Um, the evidence boards were pretty cool to take a look at how they did that. Although you didn't necessarily need to look at the evidence boards, they kind of made you.
Yeah, I know. Every time I looked at the evidence boards, I'm like, why am I on here? Why do I need to look at this? Everything else is in the back computer. What am I?
Yeah,
What am I doing here?
yeah. Well, like, why are we even using these?
Yeah,
I get that
you
your
have this.
technology is archaic, quote unquote archaic, but
Yeah.
you still have a very sophisticated computer with AR technology and automated voice systems and stuff like that. Why are we doing this? Why are we
Hmm.
using corkboard?
Yeah, I have no idea.
But but yeah, otherwise I very much enjoyed the structure and even getting into some of the side stuff. Um,
Detective
you
Montoya and things like
right.
that.
Detective Montoya and oh, what is her first name? It's Leslie Tompkins' daughter. Um, I can't remember her first name.
Valerie?
No,
No.
it's a short name.
Okay, yeah, maybe
Um,
Valerie. I'm thinking of. Never mind. Yeah.
yeah, but it's interesting they built on the lore of that because in the comics and in the cartoons, Leslie Tompkins is kind of Batman's uh therapist slash nurse, tending to his wounds and keeping Bruce's identity a secret. And this is apparently Leslie has retired, and her daughter has become an EMT and things like that, and
Mhm.
she's helping out all the capes. So that's pretty cool. Um, yeah, Detective Montoya, the whole storyline with the watch and all that kind of stuff. And then of course the bigger ones like, like I said, Mr. Freeze and Harley Quinn and Clayface, kind of diving into their stories while taking a break from the Court of Owls storyline. I thought that was very
Mhm.
tastefully done, I would say.
Yeah, I liked the way they structured it because you could pick and choose what you wanted to because it was if they made it feel like an open world.
Yeah.
With you look at the map and there's so many different icons that you can choose to go to. One of the first icons I did was the fast travel.
Yeah.
Once that Lucius Fox was like, hey, let me talk to you about fast travel. I'm like, all right, let's do all of these. I want to be able to go to one spot, because I don't want to have to fly, drive, glide, whatever it is, all the way across the map when there's a mission that's right next to a fast travel, which
Yep.
was my favorite.
Yep. I got to tell you though, unlocking those fast travel things whoever the voice actor is for Lucius Fox, no.
Where is what's his name?
Morgan Freeman.
No, from the games.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Why can't I think of it right now?
The
It's
the
gonna come to
Hulu
me.
the Hulu voice.
It's gonna come to me. Yeah, it's Lee
Yeah,
from Walking Dead.
Walking Dead. Yeah, yeah. It was driving me nuts, like because in the game you've got to scan all of these surveillance drones so that they clear the airspace so that you can fast
Yeah,
travel. And
Dave Fenoy.
that's it, Dave Fenoy.
Yes. Mm.
And you'd scan the drones. Is like, another scan. Nice. Like, it's like, stop it.
Also, those were annoying.
Yeah.
Those were super annoying trying to find where those drones were to unlock that safe airspace.
Yeah,
section.
especially the shielded ones, like because you have to sit there and wait for them to land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of annoying, but yeah, the mission structure I think was great because they're like, I don't really want to do this next mission. I'm gonna go see what else I have. What other missions can I do? Whether that be a villain mission, whether that be a story mission, or whether it's just like doing a collectible or doing something else with Detective Montoya, or doing something with Lucius Fox to continue to upgrade a lot of things. There's a lot of things that you can do in this game, and you could just and you could do it perpetually.
Yeah.
I felt like there was no end to it. There's a lot of when there's crimes and there's a number of crimes that are on the map, you clean them all up, and you should have like enough information to do more crimes, but you have to go back to the Belfry to do so.
Yeah.
And once you get back to the Belfry, then the more crimes will show up on your map. Which was a cool little mechanic because it didn't want you sitting out there doing crimes all day. I mean, you could. You do the small crimes where there's. I mean, I don't know. I can't tell you how many times I stopped a carjacking, I stopped a kidnapping, I stopped a mugging. Oh my goodness, it was over and over and over and over and over again. There were. I mean, with the crimes, there's what, half a dozen differences to them.
Yeah.
And the worst ones were the Court of Owl ones, where you had to find the door, go through the door, go down underneath, underground, and then fight a couple of guys, and then try to. And it was. I think that was the worst one. Besides the one where you had to infiltrate like a base, find the organ transplant.
Oh, I couldn't stand the organ transplant one.
And then, I mean, you had to be sneaky, and then you had to drive it all the way across the map to the medic. And like, those are the worst. So anytime those crimes came up, I skipped those, and I did the other ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, the mission structure was good. Anything else regarding, because we're like, we're just talking about all the stuff you can do in your menu.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of stuff, which it feels overwhelming, but it's very well organized to find out, okay, I want to do this, but it's in a certain section and it's easy to get to.
Yeah. I mean, I found myself a lot of times going, I would start one mission and like, hey, what's over here though? What's this? Yeah. What's that?
And that's an open world. If an open world can get you to be distracted like that, they're doing a good job. If you don't care about that kind of stuff, then either you don't care about it in general, or they're not doing a good job. But if you're interested in doing something else, then they did a good job.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they did a good job, lore wise, throwing in some plenty of Easter eggs through like all the different collectibles that you can pick up, all the audio logs from Bruce, from his early days as Batman right up to right before he gets killed, all that kind of stuff. The emails that you get from various people, although it is kind of weird that like they're treating it almost like an office, because like you get emails from like Barbara and Tim and Jason, like
they're all in the same office. Like, what do you like? Why are you
can't
sending
you just talk about
other?
this? But everything else, like you got emails from like the different Teen Titans, you get one from Superman, a couple of different ones from Superman, There's several different characters that make very, very small appearances via
Mm.
those emails that are really cool. Um, but heck, even Alfred gets on board and sends you emails. But I love the attention to detail there. So that way the world feels lived in.
Yeah.
Um, but do we want to start talking about the story stuff?
One last thing before we
Okay,
get into the
yeah,
story.
go for
What
it.
I really liked about when you're out in the open world and you're doing these side missions and story missions for that matter is everyone's expecting Batman to be there.
Yeah,
And they're like, "Oh, Batgirl. Oh, Red Hood. What are you guys doing? What are you doing here? I was not expecting you." I thought that was a nice touch because they kept it a secret.
yeah,
They wanted to keep it a secret, and one of the side missions is keeping Batman's identity a secret,
yeah.
which
Planting
was
fake data.
yeah, which was really cool. I don't know if you did all those, but and ended up and saw the video file at the end
Yeah,
where he's just like dancing as he's inebriated,
yep.
just in his underwear. It was very very funny. I thought that was a funny video. They're like, wait, this is what we're doing. This is the video we're putting out.
Hey,
Um,
he's gotta keep up appearances. Let the Playboy thing happen. It's like in was it Batman Begins where he's like bathing in the fountain with the two girls,
yeah,
and then he just decides to buy the whole building and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I
yeah.
get it.
All right, but yeah, so that's it. The last thing I want to get to is the story, and this is the going to be the bulk of it. It really bookends this, so we can get into both the main story and we can get into the story for Clayface, Harley Quinn, or we can most. I thought my favorite one was Mister Freeze. I thought
Yeah.
that was really awesome. But tell me a little about the story, the opening scene.
Oh my gosh. Like I when I first played this game and like I typed into Discord, I'm like, the opening 10 minutes, yes, it was a long cutscene, worth the price of admission.
Mm,
Just the opening cutscene with him fighting. It's so weird how they go from different versions, and they either call him Raz or Raish Al
yeah.
Ghul. In this particular iteration, they call him Raish Al Ghul. But yeah, they're fighting in the Batcave. Batman is very badly hurt. He's been shot in the chest with an arrow, with one of those mystical arrows that the League of Shadows has. They're fighting. It's getting really, really, really rough, and Batman goes to the final, like, this is the backup to the backup to the backup, code black. Um, and in order to stop Ra's al Ghul, Batman's got to blow up the Batcave
Mm-hmm.
with him in it.
Yep.
And essentially, he's realizing in that moment, this is on the Bat family now. They've got to do this, and so he essentially rigs up the cave to explode. He sends out distress calls to the rest of the Bat family, but unfortunately they're too late. And like I said, the body is there. He is very much dead. Batman has died,
Mm-hmm.
which I was very curious from the beginning whether they were going to pull a bait and switch because in the comic storyline, which I actually decided to reread, I've got these with me with the Court of Owls. Batman actually goes off the grid essentially and gets kidnapped by the Court of Owls. And so I was thinking that they were going to do something like that where he's not dead, he's just been kidnapped by the court and has been like tortured and everything like that. But no, he is dead. He is very much dead. There is a funeral, there is a body, all that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of world we live in. Plus, Jim Gordon's dead. Like all the major good guys, like, dead. That just blew me away. So they really had some gusto to set this up. But that's the story they wanted to tell.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about this intro?
You know what? I didn't I I loved it. It was long. It was very interesting. I was engrossed in this. Like I wanted to see because I knew Batman died. I was like, okay, I want to know how he died because a lot of the previews. This is a Batman list kind of Gotham, and so when he blew it up, I'm like, did he get out? Like, is the story gonna go to the point where he's just like in hiding
Yeah.
and just trying to lay low for a while. I don't know, like that was what my question was. um but yeah, I love the beginning. I love how they set up the game. It was a fantastic setup. I was like, okay, now I understand why Batman's not in this and you have to play these four characters. This
Yeah.
was a very awesome setup.
Yeah. They gave it a concrete reason for you to
It did.
have
Yep.
to be one or more of these characters. Um, but then, of course, they've taken residence up in the Belfry,
Mm-hmm.
which is well known in the comics to be Oracle's base of operations. And at one point, apparently, this iteration of Barbara has been Oracle.
Yes.
Because if you notice in several of the scenes, she's got this back brace. So this is obviously, she's recovered from her injuries because she was shot and uh, left paralyzed by the Joker. And so that's why she becomes Oracle. Oracle. She becomes the lady in the chair,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. Um, but yeah, she's back as Batgirl in this. And so they take that up as their base of operations. Alfred finally comes and joins them after a long period of mourning. And then we get right into the discussion on the Court of Owls. Um, well, first off, we get into League of Shadows stuff with Talia, who has decided to make sure that her father is dead, because
Yeah,
he
she's
dies
this
too.
this is her plan, decades in the making. Like,
Yeah,
jeez.
yeah. So yeah, Raish in this game very much dead.
Also dead. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Making sure that he's not coming back, that kind of thing. No Lazarus pit to help him in this case. She literally burns up his body. And yeah,
How they found Ra's al Ghul's body under all that rubble is beyond me.
yeah. Well, same
Like,
with Bruce.
well, yeah, same with Bruce. Like, when at the end when he's quote unquote alive, I'm like, wait a second, like how is he like alive?
Yeah,
How did they even find him enough to be able to drag him all the way to the Lazarus pit? That was
yeah,
a very I was I mean I could go along with it, but it was just a little weird.
yeah. Well, um, yeah. So you start going into the stuff with the Court of Owls. This is a basically been a myth to Gotham, like a nursery rhyme
It's
of this
it's it's
secret
Hydra.
society.
It's Hydra.
Yeah, basically. It's an organization that has basically existed as long as Gotham has, and they're basically the ones pulling the strings. It's a group of high society elites that pull the strings in Gotham.
Hydra.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way I can compare it is they've been living in the shadows and waiting for the time to strike.
Yep. Yep. And so you start going into that whole story and uncovering the plans of the Court of Owls and with their talons, which um a little bit different of a take from the comics. They had a main guy in the comics that was Talon, but they had other Talon assassins as well, very similar to this. They didn't have the actual main Talon in this game, which his name is Lincoln March in the comics. But they did not have him. They basically were brainless assassins, killing machines,
Mm-hmm.
used with a compound, a diluted compound made from the Lazarus pit. Um, and so it's an interesting twist, an interesting take. And of course, there's this all-out war that's brewing between the League of Shadows and the Court of Owls, and their plans and everything. And so it's interesting to see where they go with everything. And then of course you get into the side stuff with Harley Quinn and her evil plans and Clayface and his wanting to create this sort of spectacle, having people pay attention to him because he's an actor. He was an actor before he got turned into Clayface.
How funny was the scene when he's got three clay faces doing a video, just like shooting a
Filming
movie.
a movie. Yeah.
I was like, what is going on?
But very on brand. Very,
yes.
very on brand for him.
It was a funny scene.
Yep. I didn't think the actress who played Harley Quinn did a bad job. It was a different take on Harley Quinn's.
It was a different take. It
was a more subtle. It was a more subtle, like instead of that
very subtle,
really annoying kind of accent. It's just like a really subtle Brooklyn accent.
Yeah.
And I get why they went that way, just because you don't want to sit there and copy what everybody's done in the past. Like Tara Strong in the Arkham games basically does her version of the original Harley, albeit it seems a little embellished, but I think everybody did a good job here. Like, I think the most difficult thing was the Mr. Freeze fight, the boss fight.
Which boss fight? The big, huge, like
yes,
8-legged one.
Yes, basically. Yeah, anytime. Well, although I guess the first fight with Freeze wasn't that terrible, but yes, the mech, the moment's like, did he say mech? And yeah, that was a nightmare to try to beat, because he just felt like a complete bullet sponge, and I had to spam so much to try to get his health down.
Yeah, and I didn't do all of the villain missions until later in my playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't that hard for me. I had upgraded one of Batgirl's abilities, and it did like an eighth of a damage every time it did that. So it took away an eighth of his health. And then when I did it with Red Hood had an ability where he just shot a bunch of bullets, and that also took about an eighth of health, which really helped, because I'm like, if I'm trying just to shoot, or if I'm trying to punch or heavy attack, it took a while. And so luckily I had those too, and I just was running around waiting for it to cool down, and then I did another one.
Yeah, I had to upgrade my sticks in order to really start to do damage.
Yeah.
But once I upgraded that, and plus I had the incendiary stuff, which
damage over time.
Yep, and works well with ice characters.
Yes.
So that certainly helped things along. But yeah, once I started upgrading that stuff, and I didn't necessarily wait until after the main playthrough. I kind of went back and forth. I was like, I'm gonna take a break from the Court of Owls. Let's go over here.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. And I would go in on basically the bare minimum. Like, I think Harley, in order to go against her final case file thing, like you had to go between like level 18 and 21 or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
the moment I was like 18 or 19, I was like, yep, let's go.
Yeah.
But I had mine on a low difficulty setting. Wasn't on the lowest difficulty, but I'm not about that struggle bus kind of thing.
I tried to do medium. I played medium for a couple hours, and I was like, man, this is hard.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
and then I turned it on to easy. I was like, this is still kind of hard. Like, what is happening?
I'd hate to see the hardest difficulty, how that goes, because
yeah,
that's a nightmare. But yeah, just going back, I went back and forth between the different storylines, and then obviously wrapped everything up. So from the moment they introduced Jacob Kane, and then they talked about the voice of the court, how soon did you figure that out?
Immediately, I was like, "Ah, that's Kane. That's Kane. I
Yeah,
already know it. They don't. He's hiding behind a mask, but it's Kane.
yeah,
I already know. Like,
yeah,
why would hit at one point? They it kind of like foreshadowed it when Alfred and Kane had that conversation, and I was like, oh, okay.
yeah.
There's no reason for him to be in this right now. For it to be for it to be random. So that's him.
Yep.
I understand. So there
He is
was
the bad
no
guy.
reveal at all for
Yeah.
me.
It was like and when he finally reveals himself, it was like, what? No
I
way.
never saw that coming.
Um, but yeah, they kind of make somewhat quick work of him though. And then it turns into essentially, more of this brawl between the court and the League of Shadows, and the court is after the Lazarus Pit, which you find out is in the remnants of the Batcave. Like you have to really dig deep down into the Batcave, which a couple things hurt my heart in this game,
Mm.
being a Batman fan. Number one, having to, traverse through the destroyed remains of the Batcave, and knowing that, this just looks terrible and you're not going to be able to play in the Batcave and everything.
Oh
And
yeah, you have the T-Rex and the big huge penny and all
yeah,
that other stuff that was in there.
yeah,
I mean, that was kind of cool to see that stuff that was still in there in the rubble.
yep. And then you finally, you get down into the lowest points, and you find out, hey, there's a Lazarus Pit down here, that Talia has somehow, I don't know if she put it there or she found it there, or that wasn't clear to me.
Hmm.
And then she was also working with Kurt Langstrom, aka Man Bat, and they changed his story up a little bit. They didn't really they didn't make him Man Bat. He was the one making Man Bats.
Yeah, just a whole bunch of man bats.
Yeah. So he wasn't Man Bat himself. And then he ends. That's another thing. They kill him off in the very beginning of the game.
He's dead. He's already
He's
dead.
already dead. I'm like, oh, okay. Just firing on all cylinders here.
Yeah, I was in the tutorial part. He's
Yep.
dead. There he
Yep.
is.
Yep. He's in a body bag. No need to worry about him.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, the most difficult part, you find out, oh yes, for the new League of Shadows, we need to have a general here, and you find out that Talia has dug up Bruce's body, which, I mean, foreshadowing that when you go to his grave right before you go to the remains of Arkham Asylum, um, it's like, oh, what have we done with Bruce's body here? And you find out she's dug up his body and has resurrected him. Um, and I'm like, here's the twist to bring Batman back.
Mm-hmm.
And so, skipping right to the one of the final bosses, you have to fight Batman. You have to fight Bruce, and he is kind of crazy because he's got that the
Lazarus Pit juice.
Yeah, he's got the effects from that going on. What did you think of this fight?
I think it was pretty cool. I think bringing Batman back as a villain was a nice twist that I didn't necessarily see coming. And then my thought process, I was like, oh, is that once we beat the game, are we going to be able to play as Batman? Like, is that one of like the Easter eggs, like the thing to strive for, or am I gonna have to do something like this? But no, it was cool because there was the layers and stages to it of trying to bring him back from being overtaken by this Lazarus Pit juice, to get him to remember that, hey, you're Bruce, you're not this monster.
Yep. And then of course you finally do that, and Bruce
I was
is able to.
I was Batgirl. I don't know how the conversation went, but he was like, Barbara, and he's like, or Barbara's like, I have the cowl on. It's Batgirl. So I thought that was pretty good. But I don't know if that's the same thing that happened with your playthrough with Nightwing.
Now it seemed a little bit more organic to me, just because like Bruce and Dick, that's he's his first Robin, and it made sense. Um, and he's like, Dick, you got to help me focus. You got to help me, keep away from the insanity, basically,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. And then of course Talia, she's all mad because you've basically snapped him out of it. Um, and so she becomes the final boss.
And my
Which
goodness, her like big swords were like almost unblockable.
that was a pain in the butt.
Jeez, it was just cheap. I'm like, man, this is not Elden Ring. What are we doing here? Come on,
I'm stuck
why
in
is
like
this?
7, 8 swipe attacks, and like I can't get
Yeah,
out of it.
I know, son of a gun.
Um, but eventually you do take her over, and this is the hardest part for me of this game. You have to watch Batman not die once,
Kill himself again.
but watch him die twice.
Oh man, but again, just like the beginning, how epic that was. This was also epic as well because they do close up shots of his face, of him just making the decision to do this again, and just seeing the face, the grimace he has, and of making that decision, and as all those talons are just coming onto his bat wing, and whew, this was an emotional scene. I didn't cry or anything, but it was
Yeah,
an emotional, like, hey, he's doing it again. Like, imagine having to do that again.
yeah.
And he did it. And he I feel like it was without hesitation. He's like, I know what I have to do.
I understood why they did it, just because I think the Lazarus Pit's effects, he was kind of too, even though he was able to refocus things, he was
Mm-hmm.
too far gone anyway. Um, to where like it really wouldn't have been good for him to stay alive. So, but at the same time, Jason Todd is alive, and he was brought back via the Lazarus Pit,
Yeah.
and he
And I
seems
mean,
to be okay.
if he ended up living at the end, it could have led into Gotham Knights 2, and then Batman would be the villain. And who knows?
I'm hoping that they have some sort of DLC. If not like obviously because Bruce is dead at the end of the game, but like the events leading up to, like up to the final confrontation between him and Raish.
Yes.
So that way you can at some point play as Batman.
I think that would be, I didn't even think about that, but that's a beautiful idea for
Yeah,
DLC, kind of like a prelude, a prologue, or not a prequel, but it's just
yeah,
a prelude to the events of the game.
yeah,
I think that'd be awesome.
yeah. I think that would be fantastic.
And
I hope
then
they have something like that.
also allow you to play as Batman in the regular game.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah.
But um, having said that, and watching Batman die twice, I think they wrapped it up well,
Mm-hmm.
um, and made it to where these are Gotham's protectors now.
Right.
They have the tools, to where they can continue on with the legacy. And it was interesting to see how each character was dealing with Batman's loss, um, in different ways. Like Dick is trying. He's got this struggle that he's never going to be Batman. He's never going to be like him, and he's having to live in his shadow. And Barbara is not only dealing with Batman's loss, but also the loss of her father still,
Mm-hmm.
and that
And
kind of
she has a
thing.
little side story with her father and her father's statue and all that stuff.
Yep,
It's really good.
yep. And then Jason, you know, after his whole ordeal of being killed and then coming back to life, and dealing with his overly violent ways, and kind of reining it back in, and being a normal part of the family again.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it interesting. And then Tim Drake's Robin, being the newest of all of them in this case, and not having as much time with Batman, and sort of forging his own path as Robin. So they all made it super interesting to me. So
Yeah.
But
All, all
yeah,
right. Well, any final thoughts? Rating. What is your rating for Gotham Knights?
I would give this an 8.5 out of 10.
Out of 10, what?
8.5 out of 10 Court of Owl masks.
That's good. That's good. I'm right there with you. 8.5 out of 10 Lazarus Pit juices. That's I this game was a pleasant surprise. I really enjoyed this. For one reason or another, I had played through the story 3 times. I
Mm,
wanted to get the platinum, and I lost my save, and I had to do it all over again. So I had to beat it twice to get all the things. But yeah, I really enjoyed this game, and I didn't think like after I lost that save, I was like, man, like, am I really gonna go after this platinum? And I just continued to play it. It was one of those games I just couldn't put down.
yeah, it's definitely a, it scratches that itch after not having an Arkham game
It
for
did.
so long. Um,
It didn't
yeah,
fully scratch the itch, but
yeah,
it was like, well, it's the itch is still there, but
yeah,
I mean, this was good enough.
yeah. This was definitely satisfying to
I
me.
think it was a good placeholder for before the next Arkham game or
Yeah.
Suicide Squad game. What is going on? When are we gonna get that?
I can't
Is it?
remember if they said 2023 or 24 now.
Oh my
I think they
gosh!
delayed it.
Of course, all
Um,
things are delayed.
yep. Which I mean, you know, make it good. Make sure it's not a piece of crap, and it's rock steady. So
Yeah, they're gonna take their good old time with it.
yep. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But this is still a fun and worthy installment that I would recommend people try on their own and make their own decisions.
Yeah, I recommend this game as well. I think this is a worthy addition to the Gotham-ish franchise. I think this is I think it was great to have not I think it was nice to not be Batman.
Yeah, there's
I think it was
definitely bold
nice.
choices.
We played as Batman and 4 Arkham games. It was nice to kind of branch out a little bit. So
Yeah,
but yeah, do you think there'd be a sequel? Do you want a sequel?
I wouldn't mind there being a sequel. Um, where they would go, I no idea, but I would be okay with it.
I think they need to have like, are they gonna pull in more characters you can be, or is it going to be more of like a Marvel Ultimate Alliance where you can just play as a whole bunch of different characters? I don't know.
There's other characters that they could pull from and add to the Bat family. I don't know if it's too late to have Damian jump into the fray because um, I don't know, the timeline that on that is weird.
Yeah.
Being he's Bruce's actual blood son. But Damien.
Outside of the DLC that you have already recommended, which is an awesome recommendation and suggestion, are there any other DLC you like to see if they don't do a sequel?
Um, hmm, did not get any Joker
Oh, okay.
in this game at all, other than some very brief. Like I think the joke you see the remnant of the Joker card that's in the Bat Cave, and if there's any others, there's like in passing mentions of possibly of the Joker, but it would be interesting to see a different take. It doesn't have to be Mark Hamill's Joker as much as I
Mhm.
love the character. If we're gonna go in a different direction, you could go in that direction with these guys and do some DLC with him. Um, yeah, I'd say any of the rogues gallery that they didn't use, you could use as possible DLC.
Okay.
See?
All right. Well, I think that's it. That is it for our spoiler cast of Gotham Knights. Highly recommended by both Mark and myself. Dear Jordan, if you want to connect with us, we are on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. We have one link to rule them all, linktree.com/the GMG pod. If you'd like to call us, we're at 929 GMG guys. Otherwise, we will catch you on our next episode. For me, and Marc, and you, our dear friends and family and joiners, go get your good morning on, and may God bless and guide your lives as you live, as you work, and as you game.